In just a few months, Meta CEO Mark Zuckerberg has seen his personal fortune plummet massively after his company faced billions of dollars of losses and a series of massive layoffs that left thousands of families in the streets. This is how what was once the world's sixth largest company, valued at more than $1 trillion, has lost most of its money. The drop in the company's stock has taken Meta out of the world's top 25 companies. But investors believe it's only a matter of time until Meta's stock continues to fall. And they are right. On February the 3rd, 2022, Meta's stock plunged 26.4%. But if we go by the origins of this conflict, Meta shares have gone from worth $353 to touching $95 per share. Thus, 71% of the company's value has disappeared in just 12 months. But why did Meta become a complete failure? Whose fault is it? And did this project ever have a chance to succeed? Meta's vision is similar to that of Facebook. They seek to bring people from all over the world closer together. However, Meta has wanted to go a step further by incorporating virtual reality headsets that offer a more intimate degree of socialization than our cell phones or computer. Unfortunately, this has required a lot of money. Meta is an idea that sounds great in theory, but in practice can turn into a complete disaster. Before Henry Ford invented the assembly line, it would have been impossible to imagine the average citizen driving any car. Unfortunately, today we find ourselves in a similar situation, where virtual reality headsets are not accessible to everyone. Meta is said to have spent $100 billion on research and development since it started the project. To give you an idea, Sony typically spends about $5 billion yearly on research and development for all products in its business. That covers its virtual reality products, cameras, hardware, and remaining electronics products. In other words, Zuckerberg has invested an absurd amount of money in making his dream of the metaverse a reality. But sadly, cartoonish avatars interacting in a fantasy world are not too exciting to investors and consumers. As inflation rises by leaps and bounds and fear grows in the markets, people are looking to protect their savings somewhere. And having most of your money in a company that invests in digital avatars seems not to be the answer investors are looking for. During a year of steady decline, Meta suffered a further drop after the company showed its revenue forecasts for the rest of the year. As a result, investors panicked. Zuckerberg expects to generate between $30 and $32.5 billion, well below what the market expected. Following this announcement, Meta's CEO dug his grave further down the line. Before he knew it, more than $80 billion had been wiped off the company's stock in just 24 hours. That kind of money would buy Twitter twice over. That's why analysts like Deborah Aho Williamson point out that Meta is unstable. Unfortunately, Zuckerberg has focused too much on the future promise of the metaverse and diverted his attention to the unfortunate realities of the present. That his company is under incredible pressure from poor global economic conditions, and other companies like TikTok are beating him at his own game. Shares of Meta, then called Facebook, hadn't been worth $95 since Barack Obama was president. But after growing for so long, Facebook has returned to its beginnings. As a result, Mark Zuckerberg has had to cut 11,000 jobs after the company claimed to be overstaffed and inefficient. This meant laying off a large percentage of its staff. Today, the company has about 44,942 full-time employees in its 82 offices worldwide. Unfortunately, the consequences of Zuckerberg's bad decisions have affected those employees who had nothing to do with the company's downfall. But as the company had posted disappointing earnings, it has had no choice but to cut costs. Despite this, Zuckerberg refuses to admit that investing in the metaverse might not have been a good idea. Instead, he claims that Meta's decline is a consequence of the global macroeconomic situation, which is partially true. Like many other companies, Meta has been affected by the poor state of the global economy. The consequences of the COVID-19 pandemic and the world's social, political, and economic malaise have led investors to seek refuge in safer assets. However, Meta's fall is not exclusively a consequence of the poor macroeconomic situation. Because if that were the case, companies like Apple and TikTok would share the same massive losses. Meta's losses are a direct consequence of the growth of its competition, excessive research expenditures, and neglecting the central pillar of its business, connecting more people. While Meta sounds great in theory, it's a project that, in practice, excludes those people who don't have the capital to buy a virtual reality headset. However, there is another problem. In 2016, only 45% of the world's population had a smartphone. Today, that figure is up to 86%, and according to some analysts, it could be as high as 91%. Even if some developing countries had to make twice the efforts to buy a smartphone, there's a reason why they would. Because smartphones bring real value to our lives. Today, the modern world has made it necessary to have a smartphone, so companies have turned their businesses to the digital world, developing thousands of apps to connect with their customers. The problem with Meta is not that it's a bad project, but fails to captivate most of the world's population. Instead, it only satisfies the needs of a small group of people. Think of it this way. If you were in a small African community, you would not only need to have access to a computer or cell phone, but a virtual reality headset to enjoy the metaverse. The second problem is that few people are interested in accessing this new digital world. They simply want to communicate with their friends and family, but they don't want to see a digital avatar of their parents. At least not with such childish graphics as those proposed by the company. This is one of the biggest secrets about Meta's collapse. Even in these modern days, people are very prejudiced about anything animated. If you were to recommend an anime or series like Castlevania to your parents, they would probably associate it with a children's cartoon. Now, imagine trying to get the world's biggest investors to understand this concept. Can you imagine Warren Buffett becoming interested in the metaverse? Unfortunately, Meta has made two gigantic mistakes. It doesn't meet the real needs of the average person, but it also fails to appeal to large investors. As a result, few people can understand its true value. Meanwhile, Google has seized the opportunity to beat Meta on its own turf: advertising. As you may know, advertising is one of Facebook's biggest sources of revenue. For that reason, the social network has managed to amass billions of dollars, despite being completely free for users. Google remains to this day one of the preferred options for advertisers. Along with Facebook, it has a massive audience that positions it well above its competitors. However, Meta's virtual reality efforts have made it struggle to attract new users. That's why Horizon Worlds has reported a drop in the number of users staying or registering on the platform. While most technology companies have begun to report shrinking numbers, Meta's shift in focus has created great uncertainty about the company's long-term economic value, and its name change has only played against it. If Disney were to change its name to Nadis tomorrow, how many people would be able to recognize the company's name? Facebook had one of the biggest advantages over its competitors. It had decades in the market in which it had built its brand name and reputation. So even if you were to travel to the most remote island on Earth, most people could identify the company's name. Yet, Facebook has made the grave mistake of shedding all that fame and prestige and changing its name overnight. However, the story of Facebook's change to Meta was for darker reasons than you might imagine, and it's associated with numerous damages to its reputation, congressional scrutiny, and loss of user trust. Toward the end of September 2021, Facebook received a wake-up call about how its second platform, Instagram, was affecting the mental health of teenagers. Facebook knows that Instagram is harmful to teens, but does nothing about it to stop it. A recent survey revealed that 1/3 of teens struggle with body image issues. Respondents claim that Instagram has only made their problems worse. On the other hand, Facebook has been repeatedly accused of violating the privacy of its users and using its algorithm to position misinformation or control the opinion of its users. And that's where Facebook makes big bucks. For this reason, the company has tried to give its image a facelift and change the parent company's name. However, this ended up becoming another bad decision. Facebook is not the first major company to try to improve its image by changing its moniker. Hundreds of companies have done so, and some of them have even managed to achieve good results. However, branding experts are not convinced that Facebook's name change was the right decision. Instead of trying to improve its reputation, they have tried to distance itself from its most recent scandals. That is why Jim Heininger, founder of a firm that focuses solely on rebranding organizations, known as rebranding experts, has given his opinion on the matter. For Heininger, anyone knows what Facebook is, so he believes that the best way to address these problems would have been to confront them. Facebook's decision to change its name came just after whistleblower Frances Haugen leaked thousands of pages of internal documents to the Wall Street Journal, in an attempt to expose the company. Frances Haugen, 37, worked as a product manager on Facebook's civic integrity team. In an interview with US network CBS's 60 Minutes, she said the documents she leaked show that the company put growth over the safety of its users. To make matters worse, the documents showed that the company treated celebrities, politicians, and high-profile Facebook users differently. As expected, Facebook attempted to defend itself against these allegations by claiming that the leak had been misleading. However, company insiders said that it was a biased interpretation of the data and that Frances Haugen had overlooked research conducted by the company. However, that's not where the controversy ends. On hundreds of occasions, Facebook has been accused of undermining Western democracy. The company makes a living from selling user data without authorization and is confronting democratic authorities while trying to hide the blame for its actions. Facebook does not have exactly transparent origins. Since its founding, the company has been embroiled in controversy. After a bitter legal battle that lasted years, Facebook's founder had to compensate his former classmates for $65 million after being accused of stealing the idea from ConnectU.com. The accumulation of all these controversies led Facebook to try to save its image by changing its name to Meta. However, this decision ended up sentencing the company's future. In October 2022, the company held a conference in the Metaverse, trying to change investors' moods. But unfortunately, the announcement of a $1,499 VR headset and the introduction of legs for Metaverse avatars did little to regain market enthusiasm. In that month alone, Meta was down nearly 25%. Since Facebook changed its name, Mark Zuckerberg has lost more than $100 billion in personal wealth in just 14 months. Even some people who were excited about navigating the Metaverse have been disappointed by the company's progress. Despite Meta's claim to be the future, no person wants to wear a clunky helmet to see outdated graphics on the screen. The design of Mark Zuckerberg's team's avatars is reminiscent of an old PlayStation 1 game. The problem behind Meta is that it has invented absolutely nothing. So even after spending billions of dollars on its supposed research, Zuckerberg's product brings no additional value to the market. Take Second Life, for example. The metaverse that Zuckerberg proposes is something we had already seen more than 19 years ago in a game known as Second Life. Although many companies have tried to emulate the success of this video game, none of them have been able to bring anything new to the formula. Meta is a company that promises many things, but is incapable of putting most of them into practice. Even the vice president of Meta's Metaverse said that they could not expect their users to love a product they do not love. Although a small group of people believes that the Metaverse is the future of technology, it is the same group of people who do not want Zuckerberg to be responsible for the development of this universe. Since it was nothing more than a theory, people who dreamed of the creation of the Metaverse envisioned a digital world free from the power of big company control and manipulation. So the arrival of a technological giant like Facebook has not made a great impression on potential users and investors. Web 3.0 is still evolving and defining itself, and as such, there is no universally accepted canonical definition. What is clear, however, is that Web 3.0 will strongly emphasize decentralized applications and will extensively use blockchain-based technologies. Simply put, these decentralized technologies seek to take power away from the powerful and give it to the community. Unfortunately, Zuckerberg wanted to stick his nose where it wasn't wanted. As one of the richest people in the world and responsible for manipulating the way information is shared, he finds himself in a losing battle to captivate an audience that hates everything he stands for. The metaverse concept was invented so that people like Zuckerberg would not be part of it, in the same way that cryptocurrencies seek to escape the control of banks and governments. To make matters worse, the science fiction author responsible for inventing the term metaverse, Neal Stevenson, has teamed up with a virtual reality team looking to compete with Meta. The main difference between the two projects is that Neal's The Metaverse will work through blockchain technology. Even if Facebook is not welcome in the metaverse, Zuckerberg doesn't seem to care. He has gone so far as to waste billions of dollars on a project that no one wants him to work on. From the government and his potential customers to his own employees, no one seems to be more interested in the metaverse than Zuckerberg himself. But while Zuckerberg plays with the metaverse, his net worth is headed for bankruptcy. This is for two main reasons. First, technology was invented to make things simpler. Despite this, Meta has made things more complicated. Zuckerberg's proposed technology should be exciting and easy to use. However, it has made most people who dreamed of living in a digital world lose all interest in the metaverse. Secondly, Meta cannot ensure that they will be able to make responsible use of this new technology. Since its early days, Facebook has had problems controlling its users. That's why hate speech, violence, pornography, and other unwanted content sneak through the platform. Now, imagine what would happen in a world where most people could hide through the anonymity of an avatar. Many might argue that Meta will take action against users who misuse the platform, but that won't prevent these unpleasant situations from happening. It will simply offer a response once the problem has occurred. The Wall Street Journal reported that when one of its reporters visited one of Horizon's most popular virtual worlds, the Soapstone Comedy Club, a user of the virtual room asked her to show off. For this reason, many users are not overly enthusiastic about their children interacting with strangers in the metaverse. We know about people's misuse of social networks, but if we add digital avatars, grooming cases could intensify. Meanwhile, the financial statements show that the executive has bet his company's future on an unstable technology that has made him the object of memes and mockery on social media. He has invested tens of billions in piquing user interest while racking up billions of dollars in debt, crushing the company's profits. According to Bloomberg, Meta is running 57% lower this year, compared with 14% for Apple, 26% for Amazon, and 29% for Google's parent company, Alphabet. In recent weeks, it has also faced additional pressure from state and international regulators. The company was fined $25 million by Washington officials for failing to adequately disclose its political investments. While Zuckerberg is running out of money, his employees are desperate for their boss to get back to work on its core apps and offer suggestions for improvements. But Needham analyst Laura Martin believes Zuckerberg appeared to be moving away from the business that historically allowed him to make all his money. Today, the average teenager thinks of Facebook as something older people browse when they get home from work. So most teenagers have migrated to TikTok. As a result, Facebook has become the least attractive option in the vast array of modern social networking sites, which is quite funny considering that it was one of those responsible for making social networks popular. For this reason, many advertisers have pulled out of the platform. And although Zuckerberg seems to be trying to work on solutions to prevent his company from going under, it seems too late. He has wasted too much time and money on a non-viable business idea, allowing his company to fall into oblivion. What is clear is that Zuckerberg has become addicted to the metaverse. He has seen his multi-billion-dollar empire crumble rapidly, but finds himself willing to do whatever it takes to prove he was right. But as time marches on, his competition is edging him out. And that's it for today. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with the latest news about Facebook and the metaverse. Thanks for watching. Until next time.